where does the cave kind of come into play as far as it goes? Because as far as I've always kind of been told, it's all kind of centered around the house. So like, where does like the cave and like the whole "don't take the rocks from the cave" concept come into play?
My theory on that, I'm glad you asked that. I almost forgot it. My theory on that is the cave itself is not haunted by the Bell Witch per se. I'm not saying it's not haunted. There is something there. There's been too many people seen stuff and things like that in it, or even outside the cave. Um, the cave is itself is situated right beneath a Native American burial ground, and the Native Americans always had this the sacred spot for their burial grounds, and it was usually in a portal or a vortex. If they could travel back and forth. And that's why I say if they take a rock out of the cave, what you've done, you've actually took part of that portal home with you. And whatever's in that portal, it releases it. I've got two phone calls, probably 3 or 4 years ago. One of them was from Florida, one was in Georgia, but both of them had both lived in Adams at one time. This girl, she said she went to the cave, and they warned her, don't take anything out of the cave, no rock, stick, nothing, don't take anything out of the cave. Well, she picked up a rock, stuck it in her pocket, and she says her life just fell apart from that point. She lost her and husband got divorced. She lost her house. She lost her car. She lost her job. She ended up moving in with her sister in Florida, in a little trailer park in Florida. And so anyway, I got this information, Miss Girl, because she called me on the phone, wanting some help. So she sent me several texts, and I thought, well, I don't know if I want to fool with this or not. But anyway, she said that when they got to Florida, it got worse actually. She said they had things were breaking down. I think the air conditioner went out. Some of the plumbing acted up, some kind of weird, crazy stuff. And they called the electrician over there to do something. So he opened the door and walked in and come running back out and said, I can't go in there. Said, you got something in there I'm not going to mess with. And said the plumber and the air conditioner guy told her the same thing. Said, I can't go in there. If you got something evil in there, and I can't do it. And so she called me, asked me what to do. I said, well, you need to get that rock back. Well, can I send it to you? I said, no, do not send that rock to me. I said, I got the address of the where the cave is. The people run the cave, and I said, put it in a small package, envelope, whatever, and mail it back to them and ask them to put it back in the cave. And she did, and I talked to her. Well, in fact, I talked to one of the. I got her some help down there. I talked to one of the paranormal groups down there close by her, and they went over and blessed the house. Got a priest to bless the house, and they did the sage smudging and all that. And the last time I talked to her, everything had returned back to normal. And the one from Georgia was just about the same thing. I mean, almost identical to the case. And she, like I said, she wanted both of them wanted to mail the rock back to me. I said, don't do that. No, I'm not going to give him address. I don't want that rock in my possession.
Don't need to make a pit stop on the way back to the cave.
Yeah, exactly. Now, my friend, he worked at the water department, which is right down below the cave, where they draw their water out by the middle of the cave. And he said he was there one day, and he said this guy come up. He said he'd seen a car sitting up there at the entrance to the cave, been sitting there for a good little while. And of course, the gates were closed. The cave was closed. And said this guy seen him, I guess, walking around there in the parking lot, going to his truck. And said he had jumped in his car and come flying back down there and asked me. Said he come sliding to a stop in the gravel. Said, what time's the cave open? And Tim says, well, in no certain time, just whatever he decides to get up, open the gates up. Well, I gotta get up there. And Tim says, what's so important? You gotta get in that cave this time of morning. And he told him the same story. He picked up a rock, took it home with him, and his whole life just went all to pieces. And he said, I gotta get that rock back in that cave. So I think Tim went there and called the guy that owned it and had him to meet the guy up there at the gate, and he handed him the rock back to him, But the people at the cave told me that they get 4 or 5 or 6 packages in the mail every week. These little small rocks, and where people are milling them back. So
Everybody's like, I don't
I've
believe it
never
until you
been in the
actually
cave.
do it.
Yeah, I've never been in the cave. My cousin owned it at one time, and he called one day. I was in the volunteer rescue squad, and he called one day and says, "There's a dog that has fell off the bluff. And it's down there on a shelf rock, just a little ways above the water." He says, "I can't get down to it." He says, "I've been pitching it some scraps to eat, But he says, "You can't get to the water. There's no water there for you to drink." And he says, "I can't get water down to it." He says, "Is there any way y'all can come and maybe rescue this dog?" So we went down there and looked at it. My nephew, he went with us. He was the smallest one of the bunch. So we put him in a safety harness and helped him rappel down, let him down. And he carried a big leather bag with him and put this dog in it. And we pulled the dog up first and sent the rope back down for him to tie off. And we pulled him back up. And he offered to give us a tour of the cave. My nephew and brother went in. I didn't. I said, "I'm going to take a rain check. I may do it later on. I just heard too many bad things about this cave. And I've yet to go in it. And I may one of these days, but right now, I'm not. I'm not up to it."
You got to make sure before you leave you don't have a rock or something in your shoe, because I wonder how many people it's a
Exactly.
total accident that they just got a rock in their shoe and they went home and they were like, oh no.
Yeah, a little piece of gravel. Yeah, I'd make sure to clean your shoe soles out real good.
Got to put a little brush pad by the door to the cave. That's gonna be the new attraction to it.
Oh yeah,
Make sure you guys
exactly.
check
Yeah,
your shoes.
exactly.